welcome back to Glasgow's Karting. Tonight we're back at TEAMSPORT in Trafford Park, but this time for a GP2 full members session. Now the format is quite simple. You do a 10-minute practice, a 15-minute qualifier followed by a 50-lap 30-minute race. After a quick test of the lights from the marshals, we are firmly on our way. Now, this is one of the tracks that I visit quite regularly, however, I'm in kart number 1. It's not my favourite kart. The back end steps out everywhere and I can never seem to get any traction, but oh well, here we go. Let's see what time we can set. Now with this being a members session, there's nothing too dramatic that happens on the practice. The kart starts to feel okay, I don't feel particularly quick, but what I'm going to do here is just hit fast forward and whiz into the qualifying session. As we head across the line at the end of the practice session, P10. Fastest lap there, 34.627. Not great, and I've got some work to do in the qualifying if I'm going to stand half a chance in this race. Now one thing I must point out during this session is that this is a members only, and it has got some of the junior advanced karters on racing with us, and they're constantly putting out low 32s, 33 second laps, and I know that I'm never going to be that fast. So as qualifying begins, I notice this guy in front of me. He looks a little bit quicker than me, so I'm just going to try and follow his lines for a couple of laps and see whether I can get better than that P10. Now I must point out for this session, we have all changed karts. I've ended up away from that dreaded kart 1 and I'm in kart 11. Not one that I've ever had before, but it feels pretty good and I am feeling pretty quick this time out. Again, nothing too drastic takes place during qualifying, no signs of any lights, which is always good to see. And other than me letting through a couple of very fast whippersnappers, there's nothing really to report as we cross the line and we finish qualifying. Rather surprising, P6. Not too bad. The time was a 34.002, so we're way off that first position, but still, I'm pretty happy with that, middle of the pack. Now time for the race. It's a rolling start for the race. Now, I've never done one of these before, but it seems to go quite well, and for the first couple of laps, I do, manage to hold my position. My preference, got to be a standard grid start. I think I stand a bit more of a chance there, but, nevertheless, we are away and we are racing. Now, the marshals did point out to us before the race started that we would need to do a pit stop during this race. Now, we're not going to do a kart swap or anything like that, but as part of it, we do have to stop within a set marker in the pit lane without speeding, otherwise an enforceable penalty would be given. Now I must say, in the earliest parts of any race, I always seem to struggle, but I noticed this guy here just pulling into the pits. Not too sure if there's a problem with the car, but nevertheless I'm up to P6. I did lose a place in the early laps, but I've managed to gain it back thanks to that cheeky pit stop. Now I have a quick glance to the right here because I've realised that the sign is actually lit up and it's advertising the pit window is open. So I take advantage, thinking whilst I've got cold tyres, pull in, stop on the marker, get the all clear and I'm away. However, I do drop down to P12 out of 13. So I've got a lot of work to do, but I'm very conscious that I've only seen one person pit so far. So this really could be anybody's race. If I can finish middle of the pack, I'm going to be pretty happy. A few laps round and I find myself back into P9 after the pit stops have started to take place. But it's not long before this guy just seems to nip through just before the bridge and pops me down back into P10. I try to follow him, but he's just too quick, and nothing really much happens over the next few laps. So let's whiz forward a little bit and get to the more exciting stuff that takes place as part of this race. Now we come back here and we're on lap 11. This guy's just pulled out of the pits and I'm hot on his tail. Now this proves to be one hell of a battle. This goes on, well, for another 39 laps. Now there's certain parts of the circuit where I know I'm definitely quicker because I keep gaining, but there's other parts where he's definitely quicker than me. All I'm trying to do is just stay with him, watch his lines a little bit and see if I can get a cheeky overtake. Now I do have to adjust a couple of times, dabbing on the brakes so I don't collide with him. The marshals have been very clear that any contact would result in warnings and penalties, and having a clean record, I definitely didn't want to jeopardise that this evening as part of this GP2 format. Now after trying for lap after lap to try and get past this guy, I try a cheeky move up the inside. Well, I am briefly into P6 if you count a split second before moving back down into P7 because I just can't make it stick. Now just to make things a little bit worse for me, my best mate Andy has now caught me up and he's hot on my tail. He is lap for lap almost an identical time to me every time we come here, and in fact seems to be everywhere we race. So that's just more pressure, which means I really need to get past this guy as soon as possible. Otherwise, I know that Andy's going to have us both. Now on lap 23, as the guy in front is approaching the back marker, I make the most of the opportunity and sneak up the inside, undertaking them both and managing to get into P6. I managed to stick this one as well for a fair few laps. Now, as we fly forward to lap 32, he's back up my inside and, well, undertakes me on the bridge in what was an absolutely brilliant move. And it's business as usual. Back to P7, back on his tail, struggling to get past. And that's pretty much the race. I've seen so much of this guy's helmet, it is unreal. He is pretty quick. We come up to some back markers. I'm hoping that I can do the same move as I did earlier, but sadly not. And as I said, I've still got Andy hot on my tail, knowing that any mistake that I do, if I nudge this guy or go a little bit wide, Andy is going to be right on it and snatch that 7th position from me. So all I'm going to do is try and keep to my racing line and just hold Andy off, and if I can get close to this guy I'm going to try and pass him, but right now my focus is holding Andy off from overtaking. Now I'm going to just fast forward a few laps because we're now approaching the end of the race, and after another 10 laps behind this guy I have got no chance of getting past him. I do try a little move just before the bridge to get up the inside, but he rightly closes the door, and other than overtaking a couple of back markers there's nothing really to shout about. I do finish the race in a respectable P7 with a 33.821 fastest lap, which is a new personal best. However, that joy is short-lived when I find out that Andy has also set a new personal best of 33.893, so he's really closed the gap on me with more work to do on the next session.